The most dangerous enemy isn't the one who curses your name. It's the one who shakes your hand while digging your grave. Have you ever sensed that someone's hatred for you runs deeper than mere dislike? The terrifying truth is that not all enemies declare war. Some wear a mask of friendship, hiding intentions far darker than resentment. And the worst part, most people never see it coming. This isn't about paranoia. It's about survival. Some individuals don't act on impulse. They plan. They wait. And when the moment is right, they strike. The scariest thing about these people, they look just like everyone else. They might be a coworker, a friend, or even a trusted confidant. And by the time their true nature is revealed, it's often too late. In this video, you'll discover 5 critical signs that separate simple hatred from something far more sinister. Recognizing these warning signals could mean the difference between staying safe and becoming another tragic statistic. So ask yourself, do you truly know who's on your side and who's just waiting for the perfect moment to take you down? Let's find out. 1. The silent observer. There's a reason the most dangerous threats aren't the ones that announce themselves. A predator that roars before it strikes gives its prey a chance to run. But the deadliest ones, they wait, they study, they blend into the background until the moment is right. And by the time you realize you were being watched, it's already too late. When someone doesn't just hate you, but truly wants you gone, they become what I call the silent observer. This isn't just an overly curious coworker or an ex who checks your social media from time to time. This is someone who studies you with precision, tracking your movements, not out of interest, but with intention. And the scariest part, you rarely notice. Unlike an enemy who openly despises you, the silent observer doesn't need to threaten you. They just need to watch. Maybe you've already encountered one without realizing it. Have you ever had someone mention a place you've been, even though you never told them about it? Have you noticed a particular person appearing more and more in your daily routine, almost as if they know exactly where you'll be? At first, it feels like coincidence, but when it keeps happening, when they always seem to just be there, the truth becomes impossible to ignore. And in today's world, tracking someone doesn't require effort. It just requires patience. You might not post about your daily routine, but your friends do. You don't announce your schedule, but people around you unknowingly provide the details. A silent observer doesn't need to hack your phone. They just need to pay attention. A friend tags you at a restaurant. A colleague mentions your gym in passing. A neighbor comments on your work schedule. Piece by piece, they build the map of your life. And once they have enough information, they begin to position themselves inside it. At first, it feels harmless. You keep running into them at the cafe you visit every morning. You notice them at the gym more often. Maybe they even start conversations, acting as if it's all random. But deep down, something feels off. Their timing is too perfect. Their presence too consistent. They know things they shouldn't. They appear where they don't belong. And yet, when you try to explain it to yourself, you hesitate. You don't want to seem paranoid. But this isn't paranoia. This is calculated surveillance. A man named Daniel once dismissed these exact signs until it was too late. He had a predictable schedule: a morning coffee, an afternoon workout, a quiet walk home. Then he noticed a new face at his gym, a man named Ryan. Quiet, polite, never out of place. Then Daniel started seeing Ryan everywhere. First at the gym, then at his favorite coffee shop, then at the grocery store, always a few steps away, always within sight. At first, Daniel ignored it. Then, one night, as he walked home, he saw Ryan again, this time waiting on the opposite sidewalk, standing, watching. And suddenly, it all made sense. The silent observer doesn't rush. They don't act impulsively. Their greatest strength is patience, and their goal is simple: to know you better than you know yourself. Because the more they know, the easier it is to find the perfect moment to strike. So, how do you protect yourself? You pay attention, not with fear, but with awareness. Who always seems to be where you are? Who knows things they shouldn't? Who makes you feel uneasy, even when nothing seems outright wrong? The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought." And if you ignore the signs, if you dismiss your instincts, you allow the silent observer to remain invisible. Trust your intuition. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And in a game where your life may be at stake, the worst mistake you can make is assuming you're not being watched. 2. The quiet betrayal. Not all attacks come with a warning. Some are slow, deliberate, and carefully hidden beneath the surface, like poison slipped into a drink over time. The most dangerous enemies are not the ones who openly oppose you, but the ones who smile in your presence while silently unraveling everything you've built. Emily once believed that the challenges in her workplace were simply part of life. A difficult coworker, a few misunderstandings, nothing unusual. But then, she started noticing something strange. Her boss, who once valued her input, now seemed distant. Colleagues who used to confide in her had grown cold. Invitations stopped coming. And the worst part, no one could explain why. It wasn't one major incident that turned people against her. It was a series of small, well-placed distortions, a rumor here, a misinterpreted comment there. At first, she doubted herself. Had she truly offended someone? Had she been careless with her words? But the pattern became clear. Someone was working against her, not by direct attack, but by planting seeds of doubt. This is how betrayal works when it is crafted with patience. It does not strike like a sword. It erodes like water against stone. The person behind it rarely makes a direct move. Instead, they allow others to carry out their work unknowingly. They whispered just enough to make people question you. They distort the truth just enough to make you seem unreliable. And the most insidious part, you never see it happening until the damage is done. The Stoics understood this kind of manipulation well. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, was surrounded by people who sought his downfall, not through battle, but through deceit. He wrote, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth." A person who lives by appearances, who relies on the shifting opinions of others, will always be vulnerable to such attacks. But the one who builds strength from within remains untouched by deception. The mistake many people make is assuming that harm only comes in obvious forms. A Stoic knows better. Betrayal is often quiet. Conflict does not always announce itself with an argument. It can unfold in the background while you remain unaware. And the goal is always the same: to leave you isolated and vulnerable. How do you defend yourself? Recognize that reputation is fragile, but character is unbreakable. Others may control how you are perceived, but they cannot control who you are. As Epictetus said, if someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself. Instead, live in such a way that no one will believe them. Let your actions, not the words of others, define you. Observe without emotion. Do not become consumed by paranoia, but also do not be blind. If misunderstandings and conflicts always seem to surround a certain person, pay attention. If trust is eroding around you without cause, look for the source. The wise do not accuse without reason, but they also do not ignore patterns when they emerge. Fortify your inner circle. A person who stands alone is easy to manipulate. Strengthen bonds with those who know your true nature, who see through deception and remain loyal not because of rumors, but because of truth. Seneca warned, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The right people will recognize lies for what they are. Betrayal is not always loud, but those who seek to undermine you can only succeed if you base your worth on the shifting opinions of others. Stand firm, see clearly, and never give an enemy more power than they deserve. 3. The mask of friendship. The most dangerous enemy is not the one who stands against you. It's the one who stands beside you, wearing the face of a friend. Betrayal rarely comes from a stranger. It comes from those who have earned your trust, those you have let into your life, those who have infiltrated your world so deeply that by the time you realize their true nature, they already know exactly where and how to strike. Consider James, a man who had always been cautious about the people he let into his life. But when he switched jobs and met Daniel, things seemed different. Daniel wasn't just a coworker. He quickly became a close friend, always willing to listen, always there to offer advice, always eager to know more about James's life. Within months, Daniel knew everything. His routines, his ambitions, his struggles. He even became friendly with James's family, earning their trust as well. But then, strange things started happening. A personal project James had been working on was suddenly taken over by someone else. Private details he had only shared with Daniel were being used against him in the office. And the worst part, when he tried to talk to Daniel about it, Daniel simply laughed it off as if nothing was happening at all. This is what makes the false friend so terrifying. Unlike an obvious enemy, they don't challenge you directly. They don't argue. They don't threaten. Instead, they embed themselves into your world, making you believe they are someone you can trust. And once they have access to your secrets, your routines, your vulnerabilities, they turn that trust into a weapon. A Stoic would warn against blind trust. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be wary of those who are too eager to stand by your side. For the man who needs to prove his loyalty is often the one most likely to betray you." A genuine friend earns trust over time through actions, not words. But a false friend rushes the process, trying to break down your defenses before you even realize you're under attack. Think about the people in your life. Has someone recently taken a sudden and unusual interest in you? Have they gone from being distant to wanting to know every detail about your world, where you go, who you see, what worries keep you up at night? Do they position themselves as your greatest supporter, only to subtly encourage your doubts and fears? A true friend wants what's best for you. A false friend wants access to your thoughts, your habits, your weaknesses, because access is power. And power, in the wrong hands, is dangerous. History is full of betrayals that followed this exact pattern. Julius Caesar never expected Brutus, someone he trusted as a close ally, to stand among his assassins. But as Seneca wisely noted, a prosperous man often has the most to fear, not from his enemies, but from his friends. When you have something valuable, your career, your peace of mind, even just the stability of your daily life, there will always be those who seek to take it for themselves. And the easiest way to do that is not through force, but through deception. So, how do you protect yourself? The first step is awareness. Pay attention to sudden shifts in how people treat you. If someone is too eager to befriend you, too insistent on knowing your every thought, ask yourself why. The second step is patience. A genuine friendship develops over time, but a false friend, they move quickly because their goal isn't companionship, it's control. Finally, protect your inner world. Not everyone deserves to know your plans, your fears, your vulnerabilities. Epictetus taught, the more you reveal of yourself, the more you give others the power to use it against you. Choose carefully, because the greatest danger isn't always from those who oppose you. It's from those who stand close enough to whisper in your ear while holding a knife behind their back. 4. The gradual attack. No one descends into violence without warning. Before a storm unleashes its full force, the air grows heavy, the wind shifts, and the sky darkens. Likewise, when someone harbors true malice, they rarely strike outright. They test, they escalate, they observe how much they can get away with before making their final move. And if you fail to recognize these signs, you may not realize the danger until it's too late. Consider Nathan, a man who always brushed off his coworker Eric's aggressive humor. Eric would joke about hurting people, about how he could snap at any moment, always with a laugh that made it seem harmless. One day, he casually mentioned how easy it would be to get rid of someone without leaving a trace. Nathan chuckled along, assuming it was just dark humor. But soon, things shifted. Eric began invading his space, standing too close, blocking doorways, as if testing his reaction. He would accidentally bump into Nathan with increasing force. And then, one afternoon, he slammed a heavy object onto Nathan's desk and whispered, "Imagine if that was your head." This is how escalation works. It begins with subtle intimidation disguised as humor or accidental encounters. At first, it's a joke about violence. Then, it's a passive-aggressive comment laced with underlying menace. Next, it becomes a casual display of a weapon, a small but deliberate push, an invasion of personal space. With each act, they watch how you respond. If you laugh it off, they push further. If you remain silent, they take it as permission. Every step is a calculated test, not just to intimidate, but to see how far they can go before you resist. Stoicism teaches that true strength comes not from ignoring danger, but from recognizing it without fear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, you cannot afford to turn a blind eye to these signs. Avoiding confrontation does not make the threat disappear. It only gives them more room to escalate. So, what do you do? First, acknowledge the pattern. If someone repeatedly makes violent remarks, displays aggression, or violates your personal space, do not dismiss it as harmless. Second, set boundaries immediately. A Stoic does not react with fear, but neither do they tolerate unnecessary threats. Address it firmly. Make it clear that certain behaviors are unacceptable, and if necessary, remove yourself from their reach. Third, take action before it's too late. If you see the pattern escalating, document interactions, seek support, and, if needed, distance yourself from the person entirely. Seneca warned, "A sword never kills anybody by itself. It is merely the hand that wields it." Violence does not erupt without cause. It is preceded by warning signs, and the sooner you recognize those signs, the better your chances of stopping the danger before it fully unfolds. 5. The long game. Some threats are loud, reckless, and impulsive. Others are silent, deliberate, and patient. And those are the ones you should fear the most. The most dangerous enemy is not the one who acts in anger, but the one who waits, the one who studies, the one who plays the long game. Imagine Ethan, a man who always trusted his instincts. He could sense hostility, detect deception, and had avoided trouble more than once because of it. But what he never saw coming was Daniel, a coworker who had always been supportive, friendly, and reliable. Daniel never argued, never seemed envious, never showed a hint of ill intent. He was always there, always helpful. Over the years, Ethan confided in him. His career plans, his finances, even his family issues. What he didn't realize was that Daniel was collecting every detail, not out of friendship, but out of calculation. One day, an important promotion was suddenly given to someone else. Private matters Ethan had only shared with Daniel were being whispered about in the office, and just like that, his stability began to collapse. By the time Ethan realized what was happening, the damage was already done. This is the nature of the patient enemy. They do not rush. They do not act out of impulse. They plan. Unlike those who lash out in anger, these individuals use time as their weapon, ensuring that when they finally move, they cannot fail. A person like this will often seem overly interested in your future. They ask about your upcoming trips, your career goals, your long-term plans. But they're not asking out of curiosity. They're mapping out your movements. They want to know when you'll be most vulnerable, when you'll be alone, when you won't see them coming. Unlike obvious threats, their danger lies in their subtlety. There are no sudden outbursts, no glaring red flags. Instead, they spend months, sometimes years, building an illusion of trust. They position themselves as a friend, a mentor, a confidant. And when the moment is right, they strike in a way that ensures you never saw it coming. Marcus Aurelius warned against trusting appearances too easily, writing, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." The patient enemy understands this well. They disguise their true thoughts beneath layers of false kindness, allowing you to paint them as an ally, until they reveal their true nature. So, how do you protect yourself? First, be mindful of those who show an unusual interest in your private life. Not everyone who asks about your future is a threat, but if someone seems too invested in knowing every detail, take note. Second, never give away more than necessary. The Stoics believed in self-sufficiency. Rely on your own judgment rather than placing blind trust in others. Finally, trust patterns, not words. A true friend proves themselves over time. A patient enemy waits until you lower your guard. If you recognize this sign in someone, understand this. You are not dealing with a minor rivalry. You are dealing with a calculated threat. And in such cases, survival depends not on reacting to danger, but on seeing it before it ever reaches you. Before this video ends, I want you to do two things. Save this video. The signs you've learned today aren't just information. They could be the difference between awareness and regret. Sometimes, the most dangerous threats aren't the ones you see, but the ones you overlook. Watch the video appearing on your screen now. It will show you how to spot covert narcissists, because the kind of people we've talked about today often share one thing in common: a mask that hides their true nature. The more you understand their patterns, the harder it is for them to control you. If you found value in this, let me know in the comments by writing, "I see clearly." Because once you recognize these signs, you can never unsee them. And if you want to sharpen your ability to read people, protect yourself, and stay one